चल बेबी आता लेट झाले आता आम्ही पुरा करूया.
ओके आता मी बोलूया.
मी आता हे आमकां बोटी हे वाटेन सांग ते वाटेन व्हरोंक जाय. पूण वो त्यो बोटी आता इतल्यो भरल्यो जाल्यार वो बोटमॅन खंय रावतलो.
ताका एक पाय एके बोडीन धरून दुसरे बोडीन धरून.
ना बेबी ते हे जावचें ना.
कित्याक जावचें ना.
त्यो दोनूय बोटी स्टार्ट जाल्यो की फुडें वयतल्यो आनी तो बोटमॅन उदकान पडटलो.
Hello friends, welcome once again to CCR TV and The Abundant Life. We just saw little Judan and Jian at play and we listened to their conversation. As Judan rightly pointed to Jian, the boatman cannot have one foot in one canoe and his other foot in the other canoe, as he will surely fall between the two canoes as they move ahead. Well friends, that leads me to my topic for today. You cannot succeed in life with your feet in two separate rowing boats or canoes. Let me tell you how I came upon this topic. Well, I had gone visiting my friend Tom, recovering from a fracture. On entering his house, I noticed his son John at a corner table, apparently working out some mathematics problems as his home assignment. But he had headphones on and seemed to be enjoying the music from the headphones because I could see him tapping his fingers to the music. I asked John how he was managing to do his homework assignment while listening to music at the same time. I was shocked when he responded that the music helped him to work better. I then asked his father Tom about it. He sadly confided that John used to be a topper in class, but after COVID-19, he had to use headphones for online lessons and soon developed a craze for rock music on his headphones. This had a detrimental effect on John's studies, and his grades, which were high, started falling because of his divided attention. Clearly, this made me realize that this was a classic case of having one's feet in two different canoes, and I decided to probe further. Let me share what I got from my reading and research. Common sense tells us that we cannot have our legs in two canoes at the same time unless these canoes are firmly joined to each other like twin boats, and when that happens they won't shake. But trying to stand with a foot each in each of two separate canoes will most likely end up with you falling into the water as the canoes move apart with the waves. So, even if you see two canoes side by side, stay put in one with both your feet in the same canoe and not try to be foolishly adventurous by straddling both boats. Obviously, this idiomatic phrase exhorting us not to have our feet in two canoes should lead us to move beyond the literal meaning to the figurative meaning, that is, understand the underlying metaphorical meaning in the phrase. Thus, my friend Tom's son, John, was not literally sitting in two canoes, but figuratively he was engaging in doing two incompatible things at the same time. Figuratively, when we talk of having our feet in two separate canoes, it's a phrase used to advise, warn, or suggest that one should not attempt to do two significant things at the same time. For example, trying to do two difficult courses of study simultaneously. We could understand this better with some everyday examples. For instance, trying to pursue two different potentially conflicting goals or paths simultaneously. The example I have given here is of married life and the consecrated life. You cannot be married and then also be a consecrated person. The other example is of juggling double, triple, or multiple commitments without fully dedicating yourself to any single one. For example, a housewife versus that housewife being a working mother. Let me share my personal example. I have a maid who comes to my place and she has taken up 3-4 jobs, but doesn't come to my place on time and not regularly. So when I ask her, she just smiles and says, "Kiten koru?" So that's why I say she should fix herself to one job and not go running from one job to the other. Let's look at another example. Trying to please two opposing sides or masters. For example, trying to please two opposing political parties. Take for instance, you cannot be siding with the Congress and also siding with the BJP or other parties. You have to choose one. Another example, trying to balance a full-time job with a side business without giving full attention or commitment to either one. I remember when I was teaching in a school, the teacher was involved not only in teaching, but he was an insurance agent on the side, and most of the time he was busy with his insurance work rather than his teaching. Let's look at another example. Attempting to be devoted to one spiritual path while secretly indulging in a contrary path. For example, who hasn't heard of some spiritual gurus or priests? They are supposed to be spiritual, but at the same time they are found molesting their devotees. Here's another example. A married person having an extramarital relationship. I recently saw a video of a man not wearing his helmet and with a woman pillion rider. As usual, the police caught him and they asked for his license, etc. And there was a phone number. When they phoned that number, it was that man's wife. And they asked her, "Who are you?" She said, "I am his wife." So then they asked this man, "Who is this woman?" And he couldn't answer. So he was having an affair with this woman while also trying to satisfy his wife. Remember, you can't eat your cake and also have it at the same time. It reminds me of a nursery rhyme when I was in the primary. "Pudding and pie," cried Jane, "oh my." "Which would you rather?" said her father. "Both," cried greedy Jane, quite bold and plain. Some men are like that. They want to eat their cake and have it too. They want to have their wife and also other women. Let's look at another example. Double agents or spies. They are supposed to be working for one country and at the same time secretly sending out information to another country. Let's imagine Pakistan and India, a spy from one place giving information to the other country. That can be dangerous. There was the example of Mata Hari. She was sharing information from the German army to the French army. And when the French army discovered that, they shot her and killed her. So all said and done, it's a risky business trying to pursue conflicting goals. Some would describe it as a catch-22 situation, a no-win scenario where whatever happens, there will most certainly be a bad outcome. I remember watching the video of a man who was trying to please his mother. The mother wanted a girl who would keep quiet and not back answer her. So even though this man had his own girlfriend, he chose to marry a deaf, mute woman just to please his mother. For some time everything was fine, but when things got a little difficult and this girl was made to do lots of kitchen work, she got so angry that she started throwing the vessels here, there and everywhere and created a great commotion, such that the mother told her son, "I wish you had brought another bride who could speak. Now with this deaf-mute woman, we don't know what is her problem." Well, friends, what are some consequences or effects of trying to sit with your feet in two boats? Firstly, it can result in mediocre performance. Whatever you do is neither very good nor very bad. It's kind of average, whereas you can do better if you didn't have to focus on 2-3 different things. Likewise, it can lead to burnout. You can be exhausted. It can lead to diseases, heart problems, depression, blood pressure. It can also lead to resource depletion in terms of your time, your money, your energy. Ultimately, it can lead to failure to achieve either goal. Why? Because of a lack of focus. I remember one of my B.Ed students who almost didn't get to appear for the final exam due to poor attendance and incomplete assignments. Why? Again, because of financial constraints. He was holding a job, whereas the rules were that you cannot hold a job. The rules prohibited this. Also, if one looks at life, instability and failure to achieve what you want can lead to a lowering of one's self-esteem. But on the other hand, double or multitasking, where you have your feet in 2 or more boats, is quite common. Proponents of this have the following arguments. For instance, they say there are general practitioners of medicine, commonly called family doctors. They attend to various illnesses, fevers, coughs, colds, pressure, etc., unlike modern specialist doctors who will handle only one type of illness at a time. So the proponents ask, if the general practitioners can have different things to do, why not others? Another argument they have is that it reduces dependency on a single source of income. So if you have 2-3 jobs, during recession, if one job is lost and fails, the other job might provide stability or act as a fallback. Another argument they give is managing multiple commitments can sharpen one's skills like time management, decision making, etc. Ask any married woman who also works. She has to manage her time. She may get up early in the morning, but will still continue doing her work wherever she may be working elsewhere. Again, there's increased creativity in handling one's life. You find ways and means to make your life meaningful. However, all said and done, most people agree that one should avoid multitasking. Only a very few are capable of multitasking. Double tasking may succeed initially, but at great cost to the person and to the family. Let me give you the example of my dad. We were poor, and my dad worked as a clerk in a school, and at night and in the early morning he would conduct the choir in the church. So we, the children, missed out on Dad's presence when we were growing up. Again, people are not combine harvesters. Let me tell you what this means. Today, there are machines which not only harvest the crop, but at the same time they pack it up into bundles and, if possible, even thresh the corn. Human beings cannot do such 2-3 things at one time. On the other hand, there is no substitute for hard work, honest dedication, determination, and perseverance. So, like whatever you may be doing, don't look out for simultaneous alternatives. There is a term called stick-to-itiveness, which means whatever you have at hand, stick to it. Don't jump from one thing to the other to the other. Of course, we all need to pray for wisdom and common sense. Let's not ignore God in our search for mammon or money. So we are so money conscious that we forget that God is the giver of our money. So let's not ignore God. In the Christian faith, the early Israelites as well as the early Christians were exhorted to be faithful to God alone and not secretly worship the gods of their ancestors or the gods of neighbors. Likewise, Christians are exhorted not to believe in superstitions or superstitious practices. So in other words, we cannot with one voice say we believe in God, and yet at the same time we are afraid of black cats and walking under ladders and so on. Today there is a term called one man, one vote. How about telling married men, one married person, one spouse? So don't look out for other women. Okay? So as I end, I want to say that life is difficult. If you are intelligent, you can do many things. When it comes to life, there are difficulties. We have to remember that God is in control. We have to do our best. And if we are brilliant and we can manage 2-3 things at the same time, then let's go ahead. But at all times, we need to keep focused on whatever little we are doing and do it well for the greater glory of God. I wish you all the best, my dear friends. Ensure that you don't attempt to have one foot in one boat and the other foot in the other boat. You may most likely fall in between. So stick to one job, do it well for the glory of God. Thank you for patiently hearing.